Is Blake Bortles good enough? Jalen Ramsey would say so. I don't know if I would. I don't know if Brendan Albert would either. I am here. Brendan Albert is here as well. We are looking at the AFC South now, giving our observations and predictions on the division. So, how you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. How are you, man?
I'm good. We just did our AFC North predictions. So we shit on your Ravens.
We did? It was fun.
Oh, you shit on your Ravens.
That's right. I did that. It happened.
We're not going to be doing as much shitting on the AFC South, though. There's some pretty good teams in this division.
Yeah, it certainly are. You know, we know the Jags, and then you also got Houston, who was on a great run there until Deshaun Watson got hurt. And you got Tennessee, who surprised a lot of people, made the playoffs, and then fired their head coach. And then you got that other team in Indianapolis.
Yeah, that team with that quarterback. That's pretty good. Pretty good guy. Okay, I wanted to ask you a question from the jump. I'm going to start with the Jaguars. We're going to start, but I wanted to ask you a question about the Texans. Okay, so every year there's always that one or two teams that stands out, that sexy pick to kind of make that run, that leap or whatever. And most of the time, they don't make the leap. They make the leap actually the year after. We saw this with Jacksonville last year. This happened with the Raiders a couple years ago. It's like whenever you think the leap is going to happen, it actually happens the year after. So the Texans right now are getting a lot of publicity and love. Do you agree with that statement? Do you feel like teams that get a lot of publicity don't actually live up to the hype?
I do agree with that statement, Adrian, especially your point of usually you want to delay that gratification for 1 year typically. I think your comment there about the Jags was absolutely spot on. The Raiders a couple years ago pushed that a year, and they obviously did it, and then people brought it up again, and then it went the other way. But I do agree with that. Now, your second comment there, do I think it's Houston? I don't. I think the offensive line there is a very, very big issue for them, and I'm also worried about Deshaun Watson's long-term health. I don't know if he can be a guy who's going to be able to play all 16 games, but I will say this. The way he plays and with the offensive staff that's around him, they're able to put up a lot of points and be really, really exciting to watch.
Yeah, for sure. So it's crazy because, like, I'm kind of going against my normal logic here. But I think Houston has a really easy schedule. I'm looking at that, and like a lot of the tough opponents are at home, easy opponents are on the road. So I think they could put up 10 wins. But we are going to start with the Jaguars. But I just wanted to make that point right out of the jump because there's two teams. It's the Texans and the Niners. Those teams right now are getting a lot of love. Jimmy G, you'd think the Niners are going to go 11-5 this year. They're probably not going to make the playoffs because that's what logic says.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, in the NFC too, especially if you look at it, in the NFC, it's like, okay, if they win the division, obviously they're in. If they don't, well, then you got to challenge all of the NFC North teams that could be wild card teams, all of the NFC South, and then probably one or two of the NFC East. That's very difficult there. AFC is a lot more easy. You can go like the Titans or the Bills there at being 9-7, 8-8 range and squeeze in. You can't do that in the NFC.
Yeah. All right, now let's start with the Jags. I just wanted to get that out of the way. They averaged 26.1 points per game last year. That was fifth in the NFL. Did you know that?
Did not know that. I think that's something that would surprise a lot of people because usually you think, oh, this is a team who's going to win a game 8-0. But that is a surprising stat, and I think that's a large reason why they were able to win so many games, especially with the takeovers that they were able to get as well.
Yeah, they did get 8 touchdowns from defense and special teams, and 137 points off turnovers was second in the NFL. So that's where some of the points are coming from. But still, 26.1 points per game, that means you're putting the ball in the end zone. Mm-hmm. And the guy that's putting the ball in the end zone is Leonard Fournette. So that's the guy to me to watch out for this season. Marquise Lee, ACL injury. You don't have Allen Hurns anymore. You don't have Allen Robinson anymore. You really don't have any weapons in Jacksonville. They're going to run Leonard Fournette to the ground.
Yeah, it's going to be really unique. Is it going to be Keenan Cole who's going to emerge as the receiver? Is it going to be D-Day Westbrook? Is it going to be Dante Moncrief? Or is it going to be the rookie they drafted out of LSU and Sharp? I mean, there's a lot of question marks here with the receivers there for Jacksonville, but where there's no question marks is their game plan. Run the ball heavy, get Leonard Fournette, get Blake Bortles into 3rd and 3 situations, and then we have a lot of options.
Yeah, they might have been the only team last year to run more than they threw it, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But I know that they ran it a lot. You're going to pull that stat up right there?
I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah, I could be wrong there. But they ran for a league best 141.4 yards per game. And you look at that receiving core, you mentioned some of the guys. DJ Shark, D.D. Westbrook, who are those guys? They're go route guys. So when you run the ball a lot, you run that play action and you run the go route. So Chark, I mean, that's for them. That is a great get for them.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, I mean, talk about a guy who's going to be play action and is a flat-out burner, can run straight down the field. He can do that. And one thing that we don't question about Blake Bortles is arm strength. He can throw the ball deep. Mm-hmm. Accuracy has always been his kind of issue.
Yeah.
But the other thing we always could talk about, LSU receivers historically have underperformed because of poor quarterback play. I'm not saying that he's going to be Odell Beckham Jr., but I do think this is a guy whose upside is much higher than maybe some of the other receivers out there.
Yeah. So Bortles, he gets a 3-year extension, by the way. Basically a 2-year, $31 million extension. Did you agree with it? Should they have gone with Blake? Should they have gone with maybe Kirk Cousins? What would you have done?
Well, I'm sure they called Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins just couldn't make the money work for him. You know, I mean, we just saw Kirk Cousins turn down $90 million guarantee by the Jets. Jags don't have that money sitting around just to give Kirk. So I'm sure they made an effort there, and they kind of looked around the room. They said, well, this is the best option we have. But if I'm the Jags, I'm picking up the phone, and I'm saying, hey, we'll offer you Dante Fowler and a draft pick, and we'd love to bring in Teddy Bridgewater because I think this would be a great situation for Jacksonville, a great situation for Teddy Bridgewater. And realistically, I think the Jags probably have a 3-year window before those defensive guys all come up. Like when all of a sudden you have Jalen Ramsey come up, you get Miles Jack to come up, you got to start paying these guys, and you're not going to be able to keep everyone in-house long-term. Yeah,
so I was debating with my guy Kyle, because he's a Jags guy, and he's a Blake guy. I'm like, okay, you're a Blake guy, but if you get Kirk Cousins, that I think that can get you to the Super Bowl with that defense. With Blake, though, I don't know. I don't know if he's good enough.
I think that's fair, Adrian. I don't think anyone would disagree with that kind of settlement. That said, Blake Bortles did win more games than either of us thought was going to happen, so I will give him a tip of the cap to him. He certainly was able to get it done, and they scored a lot of points on that Pittsburgh defense in that playoff game too.
Well, you shouldn't say that they won more games than I thought because I actually had them go.
Well, that's true. That's true. I take that back. Adrian did say this was going to happen here for Jacksonville.
And they were another team. That goes back to that logic. The year before, they were supposed to break out. They didn't. It was the year after.
Yep, absolutely.
I strike again. Okay. Let's get into the offensive line. They actually made an acquisition that I like. They pick up Andrew Norwell from the Panthers. Very, very underrated guard. May actually make the list as my most underrated player in the division. We'll see. That's a tease for later. Maybe not. But that helps out Leonard Fournette even more. You get a guy right there at guard, just right up the middle, pound that ball between the tackles. I love the move.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think it fits their entity 100%. It's, hey, look, we're a physical team. We're going to invest in the trenches, and we'll just take a whole bunch of flyers on the receivers and maybe 1 or 2 of them hits, and that's fine. It's a perfect fit for Jacksonville's scheme.
Yeah. All right, Nuggets, defensive Nuggets. We know they have a good defense, so let's see how good they really were. Second fewest points allowed, 268. Most points off turnovers. I already said that earlier. Second most takeaways, 33. Second most sacks, 55. 10 of the 11 starters are back. 21 interceptions last year, second in the NFL. And that comes on the heels after having only 7 in 2016, which was last. So that defense is stacked. It is loaded. They had 10 sacks in week 1, and they never looked back.
No, Saxonville is 100% real. Now, here's the only thing, if I'm going to be a little bit of pessimist. Jags were one of the least teams bitten by the injury bug last year.
Yes, they
and that's
were.
A big deal. That's a real big deal because their defense is very, very good, and it is deep. I get all of that. But when you're not bitten by the injury bug and other teams are, it's going to make you guys look a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I believe, I could be wrong, I think they kind of struggled against the run a little bit.
It wasn't as unbelievable as you would believe. Now, of course, when you're able to get sacks and it looks like it's 3rd and 15 because on second down you got a 6-yard loss, it obviously changes a little bit there. But they're not exactly completely stout against the run as some other defenses are. Yeah.
By the way, that stat earlier about run-pass ratio, the Bills were the only team run more than pass. But the Jags, 527 rush attempts, 527 pass attempts. So literally 50-50.
Yep. Makes complete sense. Both of those teams, I'm not surprised at all that those stats were there.
Yeah. All right, let's get into defensive line, and I want to focus on somebody that's very, very underrated, and people don't know about. Actually, this is going to be my most underrated player in the division. Yannick Ngakoue is an athletic freak off the edge. This guy is unbelievable. And you have him with Calais Campbell. That defensive line is scary good.
Really good. I mean, Ngakoue.
I lost you there. Am I here? Am I back?
I'm here. You're good. You're good here.
All right. I don't know if that whole section there just recorded, but I don't know. But hopefully it did. So something that's been going on in my neighborhood, they're doing a lot of I guess they're installing new equipment, and my internet connection is terrible at the moment.
Yeah, that happens.
So hopefully it says it's recording, so hopefully we're okay. All right. Where were we? We were talking about Yannick Ngakoue. Okay, we kind of got into him. We're pretty much done on the Jags, right?
Defense is what it is. DBs are every bit as good. I love the Ronnie Harrison pick. A lot of people don't talk about that. But that Ronnie Harrison pick is 100% a draft pick for their future because Barry Church, maybe one more year, then he's gone. Ronnie Harrison steps right in. Not going to be any transition there. Linebacking crew, though, a little shorter than people would think. Obviously, we know about Telvin Smith. We know about Miles Jack. But after that, it's a pretty big drop-off. So if you get either one of those guys hurt this year, talk about the injury bug, all of a sudden that linebacker crew is going to notice it's not as good as it was. I have them coming a little bit down to earth this year, Adrian. 11-5, though, still a very good team.
That's funny that you say, they're going to come down to earth, but 11-5 is actually better than what they were last year.
Yeah, I think they're going to come down to earth a little bit in terms of the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be a team who's going to be in the AFC Championship. But I think 11-5, 10 wins, I think that's a good range for them.
Yeah, the Jags have been a sexy Super Bowl pick, but I don't have them going to Super Bowl either.
It's hard for me to pick Blake Bortles, but at the same time, my favorite team has had Joe Flacco and Trent Dilfer win Super Bowl, so it is possible.
Yeah, it is. No, absolutely. And, Nick Foles won a Super Bowl last year, but he's better than Blake Bortles. Sorry.
Yep.
Sounds like. I got a question for you. So when I did my defensive line rankings, there was only a 0.1 difference between the defensive line of the Eagles and the defensive line of the Jaguars. Which one would you say is better?
I'd take the Eagles, but I think it's a coin flip too, to be honest with you. I mean, if someone came on here and said the Jags are better, I wouldn't argue against them. I think it's pretty much a coin flip in my mind.
So those two units were the two best units on all the defensive rankings that I did. Of all the secondaries, linebackers, defensive line, it was Jacksonville and Philly. The defensive lines were the two highest ranked. And I had Philly ranked above, and it was more so, I think, because of the depth that the Eagles have because, you add Michael Bennett, you get guys. Taven Bryan is going to be good for Jacksonville. I like that pickup that they had, but I just think there's just a little bit more depth in Philly.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, it's hard for me to say what Taven Bryan is. He hasn't played a single meaningful NFL snap yet.
Exactly. So I'm not going to rank him that high,
Yeah, it's hard to give someone praise if we don't know what he is. So
Yeah, so I was just curious on your thoughts there. All right, let's move on to the Texans now. Deshaun Watson was on pace to throw 43 touchdowns his rookie year before that devastating ACL injury came in practice. Deshaun Watson, what are your thoughts on him? I know you weren't crazy about him coming out. Has that changed?
I wouldn't say it's changed. I would say he's gone to the perfect situation with Bill O'Brien, not only the head coach but also the offensive coordinator there in Houston.
True. Yeah.
And I mean, it's a marriage made in heaven. Same thing with Jared Goff, right? I mean, Jared Goff went from being labeled a bust to an MVP caliber. Quarterbacks, it's so much about a marriage. So he's in a perfect situation there. My biggest criticism I have on him is durability. Can he stay healthy in the long term? I don't know. If he can, just like Jalen Ramsey said, this is going to be a guy who can win MVP several years in a row. But if he can't, and it's hard for me to say it because aside from Cam Newton, I can't tell you, Adrian, another scrambling mobile quarterback who's been consistently able to play 16 games a year.
Yeah, I'm with you. So the question I had for you is, coming out, he was basically like a half the field guy, reading half the field. What were your thoughts on what you saw from him as a quarterback, going through the progressions, going through the reads? Did you see any improvements?
Oh, really good. But I think it's also a lot on that coaching staff. They did a really good job, especially when you have Will Fuller, who had a career year last year before his season got cut short too.
He's another guy who gets hurt all the time.
Another guy. But when you have him, I think he had something like 7 touchdowns, which is unbelievable. But when he's able to blow the top off the defense, all of a sudden you're going to take a safety in a corner away, and now I only have 9 defensive players to make reads off of, and obviously I'm not worried about the defensive line. Yeah, that makes your life a lot easier. But again, I think it all goes back to coaching. Deshaun Watson certainly deserved the Rookie of the Year, and I can see him being a guy, an MVP candidate down the line, Adrian.
Yeah. I mean, it was he and Carson Wentz going back to our boy Jalen Ramsey. Those are going to be the MVPs in the next 5 to 10 years. Now, we talked briefly about their offensive line. We're going to get into that now because it is an abomination. It's not very good. They drafted Julian Davenport in the 4th round last year. He was kind of like a developmental guy from Bucknell, and he's going to get thrust into the left tackle spot. It looks like he's going to be their starter. You got Senio Kelemete as your left guard. He's been on New Orleans forever as like a backup, so he's not anything special. You got Nick Martin at center. He's a former 2nd-round pick a couple years ago. Zach Fulton is your right guard, and they pick up Sontrell Henderson from Buffalo, a career backup as well. So this is not a good line.
It's not by any means. And this is what you sacrifice when you trade up to get a quarterback. You sacrifice those draft picks that potentially can surround him and protect him. And it's not a good offensive line by any means. Adrian, I don't think there's a single guy on this roster who is a Pro Bowl level offensive lineman. And that doesn't mean that he is the best at his position. I mean a guy who even could be debated. I think this whole offensive line is a whole bunch of backups, and that's a big reason why I have concerns about Deshaun Watson. It's nothing about his skill. It's about who can keep him healthy, and I don't see anyone on his offensive line that I feel good at night is going to protect him.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. I mean, you got a guy coming off an ACL tear with an offensive line like that. I mean, I'm like getting a little bit concerned about Carson Wentz coming back because the offensive line in Philly doesn't look great, and the O-line is supposed to be one of the best units in the NFL, but right now the pass protection isn't there. So it's obviously going to get ratcheted up, but a guy coming off an ACL tear with that line, that's not a good combo.
No, it's not. It's certainly not, and it's a good, by no means great run game either to kind of keep them. And the problem is a lot of the run game is Deshaun Watson. Yeah. So it's not even like, we can just hand the ball off and get them into better situations. Unfortunately, a lot of that run game also comes off of his action. Yeah.
I mean, you got Lamar Miller, career low, 3.7 yards per carry because of that O-line. Maybe Dante Foreman gets the bulk of the carries when he gets back. I don't know. They're really talking him up, speed, power kind of guy between the tackles. So we'll see. But it's going to have to be a lot of DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson with catching the football.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately for them, they maybe have the 2nd or 3rd best receiver in the NFL, depending on how you feel about OBJ. But, yeah, I'm with you, Adrian. I mean, it's going to be a lot of wear and tear on those two guys. That's why I don't see this team being a Super Bowl contender or even a divisional contender, honestly.
Yeah, but they have been a sexy pick. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball, J.J. Watt. So he's been dealing with herniated discs. Last year he had suffered a gruesome leg injury. Can he get back to where he once was? Former 3-time Defensive Player of the Year.
No idea, to be straight up honest with you.
Yeah, it's hard. I really shouldn't be asking predictions after injuries because you don't know. We don't know. How do we know? We don't know how his body is feeling.
J.J. Watt has been, the ultimate Twitter, Instagram workout dude, right? I mean, the ultimate in all of that. But I have no idea how you come back from some of the stuff. I mean, we see athletes do it all the time. But, Adrian, I have no idea. Now, you take away from him, defensive line, nothing. Now, when you add in those rush guys, when you add in Merciless and then you add in Clowney, all of a sudden it gets a little bit better. But the interior of that 3-4 defense, there's nothing there besides JJ.
Yeah, and it's been like that. It's been like that for years. It's guys like DJ Reader, Christian Covington, a guy named Brandon Dunn. Like, who are these guys? Carlos Watkins. Who are these guys?
100%, Adrian. I'm 100% with you. This is one of those things that if you look at Houston, if you take away J.J. Watt, this could be one of the worst defenses, in the past couple of years, could have been one of the worst defenses in NFL history. But J.J. Watt was getting 20-plus sacks and having 2 or 3 touchdowns himself a season. It makes the defense look so much better, but it's just because of J.J.
Well, he missed a lot of time last year, and guess what? Defense allowed the most points in the NFL. There you go.
Yeah.
Your point is proven. Your point is very proven. We kind of briefly touched on Clowney and Merciless. I think Merciless is probably one of the most underrated pass rushers in the NFL. I like Benardrick McKinney, the linebacker there. Looking at these cornerbacks, it's solid. Jonathan Joseph is like 100 years old though now. I'm seeing they're moving Kareem Jackson to safety.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Did not know that. Kevin Johnson, former first-round pick out of, I believe, Wake Forest. He's pretty. I think he's pretty solid. I like him. And Aaron Colvin from Jacksonville, I think he's pretty underrated too.
Yeah, defensive backs made a lot of move. Also brought in Tyrann Mathieu, another dude who makes plays in the backfield there. So as far as the linebacking core and as far as the defensive backs, pretty good. I mean, I think this is a pretty underrated group. I actually really like the 4 linebackers they have here in Houston.
I do.
It's the front 3 that I really don't know. And I'm saying the front 3 because I don't know if J.J. Watt's going to be back to even 80% of his playing ability. If he is, be a very good defense. But if he's not, that front 3 has got nothing, and those linebackers are going to be eating up offensive linemen all game long.
Yep. All right. Predictions. Where you got the Texans?
8-8, 9-7 range. I think this is going to be a team who's going to win more games than really they should. They're going to sweep the Colts. They'll probably split with the Texans, or with the Titans, and right there's 3 wins. You figure they probably pick 3 or 4 more up and outside of the conference. And then can you split with Jacksonville? I think they can because I think offensively they have such a great mind there in Bill O'Brien, and the defense is going to make it difficult to score on you. So I think 8-8, 9-7 I think is fair. I think they're a team who maybe sniffs the wild card situation, but I don't love them either.
Yeah, so I've got 10-6. I don't know if I feel great about it, but like when I ran down their schedule, it's just you get to play Indy twice. You get the AFC East. You get Buffalo, Miami, the Jets on the road. I think you can win. You do get the NFC East, which we'll see. I'm not crazy about the Redskins, Giants, and I think Dallas is going to be pretty bad, but we'll see about that. Obviously, Philly's going to be tough. You're not beating them in Philly. I've got 10-6 and probably making the playoffs, but like this goes now to the next team, the Titans. So I have 10-6, and I don't think they're a 10-6 team. I think they're like 8-8, 9-7, more where you're at. But that's what I thought. Like the Titans last year, like the Titans were very, very disappointing to me, but they still went 9-7 and made the playoffs. Like that's how bad the AFC is to me.
Well, I mean, I think the most telling thing of how bad the AFC is, they made the playoffs and they fired their head coach.
Yeah. And I think they improve immensely now with Mike Vrabel in tow, because I did not like Malarkey at all.
No. I mean, he was a bunch of vanilla all the way through and through. Honestly, I feel equally as confident in Tennessee as I do in Houston. So I could see these teams both going 8-8. I could see both these teams winning 10 games and potentially being a wild card team. Offensively, Corey Davis, I don't know. We're still waiting on seeing, really, for him. We probably have a good idea. Derrick Henry's not exactly the bell cow that you wanted, especially because you brought in Dion Lewis. Very good offensive line. I think this is an offensive line that is nowhere gets as much credit as they deserve. And Mariota, quietly, Adrian, had the least amount of total touchdowns last season as his career. So a little bit of a slide there, but you also got to wonder, was that because of past coaching staff?
Yeah, he's quietly going into bust territory. Quietly. Slowly
declining. I mean, I would still take him, But all of a sudden the conversations of would you take him over Andy Dalton aren't exactly seeming completely ridiculous to even contemplate. I would still take Mariota, to be clear, but I think we're starting to get into that range of, are you a 12 to 20 range quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah. I think I have him top 15. I think I'm like fringe top 15 off the top of my head. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so let's start with the offensive line because that was a unit heading into the season. They might have been the best unit in the NFL. I probably wouldn't have put them ahead of Dallas, but like they were top 3. Mm-hmm. And last year I thought they took a decline. I thought the problem was along the interior. Right? I think that Taylor Lewan and Jack Conklin are great at tackle, but I think the guys in the middle like Josh Klein and who were the other guys?
Got Ben Jones there at center.
Jones and Quentin Spain. I thought those 3 guys kind of declined, and that was the problem with the line.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. Now, to be fair, I like Spain a good amount. I like Jones a good amount too, and I like both their tackles a lot. Yeah. And most of these guys are still young. I mean, we're not talking about old guys. So I'll chalk it up to maybe just a bad year, maybe some bad coaching. But I would certainly say I like this offensive line. Probably the second most in the division. I probably would take the Jags over them. But I would think Tennessee's is right there, and I would certainly say Tennessee is a very good offensive line in the NFL.
Okay. They're moving to a zone scheme, which I'm curious how that's going to work with Derrick Henry.
I don't think it's Derrick Henry then. I think it's Deion Lewis. Because I agree with you, Adrian.
Well, they're going to draft somebody coming up.
I agree with you. I think Derrick Henry we're going to see a big slide off in him, and I think we're going to see more Deion Lewis moving forward. So that's a big thing because zone scheme isn't exactly what you imagine a guy like Trent Richardson or Derrick Henry. You imagine them more in a true power. Yeah. Zone, you imagine a little more Deion Lewis type guys.
Yeah. All right. We talked Corey Davis a little bit. Do you like him at all? Do you think he's going to kind of break out? You don't know?
To be 100% honest with you, I have no fucking clue. I have no clue what Corey Davis is. I'm not even going to say I watched him a lot in college because he wasn't playing at a big-name program, and I admit I probably should have. But I haven't seen him enough in the NFL to know what he is. Obviously, Rashard Matthews was the big guy there. Tywan Taylor, he's speed there for him. I think, honestly, their best receiving threat is still Delaney Walker, though.
Mm. The guy to watch out for is the guy that missed all of last season with a foot injury, and that's Tajay Sharp. He had like a really good rookie year, and then he got hurt last year. So maybe that's like a sneaky good target for Mariota to go to. Davis was a guy, man. Like it's crazy. These wide receivers last year, I wasn't like crazy about any of them, and then like the draft came, and then I talked myself into some guys. I should have followed my initial instincts.
Yeah, I mean, it happens with the skilled players because once you're able to start seeing 40-yard dashes, broad jumps, all the numbers, it's easy to start hyping a guy up. But Corey Davis was a guy who was dealing with a broken foot through the draft process too. So it's not even like we really knew a lot about him then. I really don't know. I mean, I have equal confidence in the receivers. I take that back. I have a little more confidence in the receivers in Tennessee than I do in Jacksonville right now. But I don't think either of them have a true playmaker that makes me really scared on the perimeter. I still think the best offensive threat is going to be Delaney Walker there for Tennessee.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the defense. A big infusion of youth at defensive coordinator. You go from the 80-year-old Dick LeBeau to the 68-year-old Dean Pease.
No doubt.
Is that a blow for you? You lose Dean Pease.
I mean, yeah, it's certainly a blow for you, but – I mean, you also bring in a head coach who, is a staple of the defense. I mean, when I think about defensive players, Mike Vrabel is absolutely up there as one of those guys. And you think of the Belichick, tiers haven't always paid out, but defensively, that's usually where it does pay out. I mean, Romeo Crennel is still a defensive coordinator on a very good team. So, I mean, I would think defensively there, as far as a staff, I don't think there's much of a drop-off, honestly.
Yeah, I'm with you. You still got Jarrell Casey there leading that defensive line. It remains one of the more underrated players in the league. You draft Rashaan Evans. I like that pickup for them. I'm not as crazy on Harold Landry, but considering they got him in the second round, you can't hate that either.
I like Landry. I like Landry more. I like Landry more in a 4-3 than a 3-4 like he's going to be in Houston. But I do like him. I do think this is a great situation. Obviously, being Rashad Evans, too, is awesome. Talk about a lot of youth there and getting after the quarterback between the linebackers and the defensive line. Pretty darn good group right here in the front seven.
Yeah, Derek Morgan and Brian Arakpo getting the pressure off the edges. You still got Wesley Woodyard as an inside linebacker. You're going to pair him up with Rashaan Evans. It's a pretty good bunch there. And you move on to the secondary. You bring in Malcolm Butler. Spend a lot of money on him. I don't know if I like that move, though.
I mean, you have to be honest with you. With corners so rarely hit the market that when they do and they're young, you have to overpay for them just because they so rarely get out. I mean, I probably agree with you. Is he overpaid? Probably. But to be honest with you, Adrian, you so rarely get an opportunity to sign a corner in free agency. That's any good.
It's hard for me to give money to a guy that kind of struggled as bad as he did last year.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I get where you're coming from, but I'm saying, look, I know this is so rare to even get a guy out here that when he does, you're going to have to pay for him.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, the rest of their guys, you know that I like Adoree Jackson. That's your casino corner. That's your boy.
Mm-hmm.
Logan Ryan, pretty underrated. He's okay. And, I like Kevin Byard.
I like Kevin Byard too. I mean, I think the safeties here, and then they went out and brought Kenny Vaccaro in too. So he can challenge Kendrick Lewis or Lewis Kendrick. There's obviously a little bit of competition there at that strong safety spot as well. I think this is a good unit. I mean, I don't think there's anyone here that says, hey, this is a guy who is a complete scare for me besides Casey. Everyone else I think is very good. I don't think there's anyone who's an elite depth or elite defender. But I think this is one of those teams that it's a no-name defense, but they can do a lot of good things.
Yeah. All right. What do you got the Titans at? I've got 8-8.
I've got them at 9-7, 10-6. I think they're going to be a little bit better than Houston. And the big reason I say that is I trust the offensive line. Mm-hmm. I think if we were playing two-hand touch football and we couldn't tackle Deshaun Watson would be the best quarterback in this division by a lot. But I'm not confident that he's going to be able to stay healthy. So because of that, I will put the Titans ahead of them, only assuming that we don't see Watson for all 16 games.
Okay. All right. I've got 8-8, so there we go. All right, well, we'll just kind of quickly go through the Colts because, unfortunately, they were the only team I didn't take notes on heading into today. Not that we need to talk a lot about the Colts. Andrew Luck. I love Andrew Luck, but I have no idea what kind of Andrew Luck we're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, even a lot of people here, I'm living in Indy, a lot of people here are saying –
you're back in Indy now?
Yeah, I'm back in Indy now.
Oh, damn, I didn't know that.
Surprise.
Nice.
But a lot of people here are saying Andrew Luck alone wins you 3 to 5 games. Maybe. I mean, he is that talented.
Yeah.
But if I'm also putting the other side of the coin, most of his preseason games, he hasn't thrown the ball down the field. Most of it has been quick, deep, and dunk, get the ball out of your hands quickly and make sure you don't get hit. So, I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen with Andrew Luck. But you take away Andrew Luck, I like Jacoby Brissett a lot. I actually think he's a pretty darn good quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
But after that, man, this offense is putrid. It is bad news bears.
Yeah. You look at that running back spot, Marlon Mack, I guess. that was our guy last year too.
You know what, Adrian? I know no one's probably going to get this. I just got a notification. Teddy Bridgewater's got traded to the Saints.
Wow. Okay. So when Drew Brees retires, I guess.
Yeah. I mean –
what did they – do you know what they got?
I didn't say. My assumption is, Sean Payton sat down with Drew and said how long you got, and keeping in mind that Teddy Bridgewater's on a 1-year deal, I kind of wonder, is this it for Drew Brees? Is this Drew Brees' last year?
Yeah. Let me see how old Drew Brees is.
He's not young. He's not a spring chicken. I'm going to say he's 33. There's a number I'm going to
give. He's definitely older than 33.
33? Okay. I think he's older.
No, he's definitely older than 30. I want to say he's like 38, 39. He's 39.
Ooh, I was not close. I was
surprised he's at 33.
I'm not very good with the whole age thing.
I was going to say, because he's been in the league since 2001.
Yeah, I'm pretty – mostly because, Adrian, I still think I'm like 22, which kind of really messes me up with everyone else then.
Well, I'll say this. When I saw Ryan Tannehill was 30, that messed me up. That was weird.
Yeah.
That was weird.
That's fair.
That's really weird. Let's see how old Teddy Bridgewater is.
Teddy's going to be pretty young, 25.
Yeah, you're right, 25. So
redeem myself a little bit.
Yes, you did, because he's what I thought. Yeah, like he was going to be. If he would have been 30, I would have been scared.
Yeah.
I would have been scared.
Coming back to this Colts team,
let's go back to the Colts.
My God. I mean, you have T.Y. Hilton, right? I mean, T.Y. is really, really good, really underrated player because when Andrew Luck's not there, all of a sudden you forget T.Y. Hilton was good, honestly. Mm-hmm. And the offensive line, Quentin Nelson, and that's it. I mean, Ryan Kelly has looked like a serviceable starting center. I don't think he's necessarily an all-pro level or Pro Bowl level player. At least he's a serviceable one. Mm-hmm. Quentin Nelson looks like a dude. Anthony Costanzo at left tackle is a turnstile. His best days are far over from him. Rest of the offensive line, not great. And
I like Jack Muir a little bit.
I'm glad you do because I don't think Andrew Luck loves him.
A little bit.
I mean, like I said, I just
there's
don't.
There's not much there, okay?
No, there's not. I think we're grasping at straws to find compliments.
That you could be right. I mean, Muir's been a guy that's been getting hurt, but before his injuries, he was okay. Yeah, you're right. You know who I also like? He's a tight end though, Jack Doyle.
Yeah, Jack Doyle. I mean, I think here's the thing, Jack Doyle. I think you're going to see the the Colts play more 12 personnel with him, and also bringing in what's his name, tight end from the Lions, Eric Ebron. I think they're going to play more with them because the receivers just aren't there. I mean, T.Y. Hilton, and then you have Chester Rogers, Ryan Grant, James Wright. I mean, there's nothing there from the receiving core that really scares you. And the running back situation is every bit as bad. There's nothing here that really scares me.
I guess we were wrong. We were either wrong about Marlon Mack or just that line's just that bad.
Honestly, I think I've always felt that running backs were like the hardest position to grade.
Yeah.
Because there's so many variables that go into can they be successful.
Yes. No. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. They're talking a lot about this Jordan Wilkins kid. I haven't watched anything on the Colts in the preseason, but he's a 5th-round guy. They drafted Naheem Hines in the 4th round. He's in like the mix too. I guess Marlon Mack is your start. I don't know. You
still have Robert Turbin too. I mean, there's a lot of guys that you're kind of just questioning. I would say Jordan Wilkins is a guy they drafted out of Ole Miss, as Adrian talked about in the 5th. He actually has a lot of upside because he was hurt the last couple years, if I remember correctly, at Ole Miss. So his film doesn't back up his true upside. But again, if no one can block in front of you, it doesn't make your life easy there.
This defense is bad.
Horrible.
Worse than
Horrible. This might be the worst defense in the NFL.
That's what I just said too.
I mean, let me kind of look up and down here.
Like, oh my God, Najee Good is listed as a starter.
Yeah, I mean, Adrian, I'm struggling to say names that people were probably familiar with.
I know Al Woods. I know Danico Autry. I know Jabal Sheard.
Jabal Sheard is one. Darius Leonard, they got to play the will backer position. They drafted him in the 2nd round, which is a little high than most people.
I know Pierre Desir. I know Clayton Gathers. I know Malik Hooker. I couldn't tell you who Kenny Moore is, and that's a starting corner. Quincy Wilson was a 2nd-round guy. I know him. I know John Simon, but, like, none of these guys are anything special.
I think this is one of those teams that in your fantasy team, you look who's playing against the Colts, and we'd play all those offensive players. Yeah. Good strategy. That I guess that takes the cake on our little fantasy bit there. So let's do predictions. Let's just get the Colts out of the way. I've got 5. No, actually, I got 4-12. I'll give him 5-11. This is assuming Andrew Luck comes back. Vegas has got him 6.5, which I think is too high. Yeah, I think that's too high. It's a lot of love for Andrew Luck. I would definitely take it. A bad team, man. I know they have Andrew Luck, but that's a bad team. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I take away Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton, I don't think there's a single player who could be a Pro Bowler this year. Maybe Quentin Nelson as a rookie. That's usually hard for rookies to be Pro Bowlers, but you only have 2, maybe 3 players who are Pro Bowl level talent. It's hard for me to think this is going to be a very good team this year. I mean, they did go 4-12 last year without Luck, so you're probably right on the 6 wins. And that's where the conversation becomes how many wins do you think Luck is worth? Is he worth 3 or 4? then all of a sudden you could get to 8-8. But the problem is this is a team that, let's say best case scenario for the Colts fans, you go 9-7, you just draft later, and you have a lot of holes on your team.
Yeah. Yeah, just be bad. Okay, like that's a conversation. How many wins can luck get you? But he's going to have to score 45 points to get a win.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's do underrated, overrated. Well, hot seat. Sorry, Brendan. Hot seat players and fantasy. Who's underrated in the AFC South?
There's several guys. I like the linebacking crew from the Houston Texans. Vontae Merciless, I think, is my guy because everyone knows about Watt. Everyone knows about Clowney. Merciless is right in that breath too. So he's my most underrated in the AFC South. I'm
going to go Yannick Ngakoue, and because I know he was ranked in the ESPN Top 100, and he is ranked pretty high in there. He's like 77, so he's about where he should be. But I think he's also like a top 10 defensive end in the NFL, and I think he's that good. So that's why I have him up there. I'm trying to think of another guy. I like your Whitney Merciless pick. That's that's spot on there. Is there anyone else? Can't really say anyone on Jacksonville is underrated now.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I mean, you probably get a bunch of guys in the offensive line there in Tennessee. There's probably another one. Taylor Lewan probably doesn't get as much love as he's deserved. He's probably a top three tackle.
A lot of guys in the South are underrated just based on the teams that they play for because they're not big markets.
You're right, yeah.
So, who's on the hot seat?
This is tough for me. I mean, it's crazy to me that Bill O'Brien was almost fired last year because there was all that skepticism and rumors out there. It's crazy for me to think that was true. But I kind of think where there's smoke, there's fire at the same time. So I'll say Bill O'Brien, even though I'll say this. If Bill O'Brien gets fired, he might be the fastest coach hired in NFL history after getting terminated because I think he's every bit as good as he advertised.
Is it too early to say Marcus Mariota's on the hot seat?
I don't think so.
He's looked really bad in preseason.
Yeah, he's not looked great. I mean, we came a long way, Adrian, from thinking, oh, my God, the year of Jameis and Mariota to now being like, oh, I don't know if these guys are doing it.
Unbelievable to me because I was, sold on both guys.
I was too.
Yeah.
I was too.
I thought, I knew Jameis was limited somewhat in his arm talent, but I thought him as, a leader was going to just eclipse everything. And then, now we're just seeing, well, he's not really a leader. He's just immature. So.
Yeah. I don't think you're wrong though in saying Mariota's on the hot seat because up until really last year where the Jags really clicked, you could argue Tennessee was the most talented roster for the last couple of years, last 3 or 4 years since Mariota's been there, and they haven't exactly ran away with the division.
Yeah. Fantasy player. Fantasy's tough. I don't even know why we do this.
It's a tough one. This is a tough division because I might just say Keenan Cole for the Jags because someone's got to win at receiver, but I'm not really confident in him. I think he has a lot of upside, though, because you probably draft him late. So I would say from upside, as far as a stud, doesn't get his credit, Delaney Walker's my dude. I love Delaney Walker at tight end.
If you are in a non-PPR league, go with Leonard Fournette. I actually just took him 9th overall in a draft where I was a non-PPR. And he's ranked he's not ranked high in the fantasy rankings. Leonard Fournette, that's my guy. Because they're going to pound him to the ground. They're not going to throw the ball at all with all the injuries.
No, it's a very simple offense there, and I think you're right. And he hasn't been a guy who durability has ever really been a question. Yeah, he missed a couple of games there last year at LSU, but that seemed more like he decided not to play than he couldn't go.
Yeah. Okay. That's the AFC South. I guess we'll find out after tomorrow's AFC West whether or not I have the Texans making the playoffs. So We'll see. It'll be interesting because there's 2 teams in the AFC West that I think are playoff teams. So I guess that's your tease for tomorrow.
There it is.
So you got any final thoughts here?
That's it. I mean, like I said, the big thing I have, Jags winning the division. I think it's pretty tight then. I have Tennessee, then Houston, and then the Colts.
Okay. I got Jags at 11-5, Houston at 10-6, Tennessee 8-8, and then the Colts at 4-12. So there it is. That's Brennan Albert. I'm Adrian Fedke. Take care. See ya.
Appreciate it, guys.